Howdy, folks. General back to you. Hey, I'm going to run through a scenario for you. I've been buying up uh, articles to make a mock electrical cabinet and show you how to wire it. Two different ways. A bunch of years ago, the company that I worked for asked us to come up with something to better our system. And I went to prayer, and God gave me the best design that you ever saw. And two different companies adopted it, and everything that they're doing, not just locomotives, but boilers and submarines and airplanes and all. I mean, it went, well, what would be considered going viral on this thing. Everything they do, they use that format. And no, I didn't get diddly squat for it. My boss did. That's the way it works. But anyway, I bought up a bunch of screw type terminals where you can just run a screw in, and that'll give you a place to plug wires into. I'm planning on making a cabinet up with, instead of having a resistor in there, just a block of wood with two terminals stuck on it. And what we would do, to speed operations up, if we had a little hard to reach electrical cabinet with a bunch of components in it, we'd make the thing up and go ahead and wire the thing and have that ready. So you started at that, where that harness come out, that conduit right there. We'd go ahead and set the thing up, plug everything in, label everything, and have everything loomed and cable formed, and then pull it out and leave it tie wrapped right there, or zip tied, some people call it, on the end of a harness of wire. And the harness of wire might be 50 or 60 feet long, but it was ready to hook up in this hard little cabinet to get to. And I'm talking about, it might be 12 foot off the ground. Back in something where it's hard to reach. And in order to do it right and do it to pretty, where it's easy to troubleshoot and all that stuff, you do it right here. And then when you pull it in, all you got to do is put a few tie wraps in to hold it in place and plug the thing in. It's all already formed. That's how the auto manufacturers and stuff do. They got harnesses made up already where they just lay them in, hook them up. And all that pretty taping and all that stuff that they do, all that's done by machine. They got a taping machine. He just sits there, ying, 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 And, it's cool to watch. We did all our own, We use Scotch 33 plus tape, too. That stuff's about $7.50, $8 a roll. Yeah, but you can't get no better. But anyway, this is just a kind of little heads up of what I'm working on. And it'll be an in-depth tutorial, if nothing else you want to call it, of how cable form wiring started. This is how it started. But it'll show you how to do it, either like I was telling you, to go ahead and wire the cabinet and leave that on the end of the conduit. So when you pull it in, all you got to do is put a few tie wraps on it and plug it in. That's for hard cabinets. It might be down under something. hard to reach areas, you go ahead and hook them up first. Then pull the wire in and then plug them in. Now, it sounds backwards and funny until you think about it. Do the hard part first, then when you pull it in, just hook it up. And then I show how to a large terminal board. Those locomotives had a master board on them. That was kind of my specialty. It had like 4 or 5 terminal strips in a row. It might be 3 foot tall, and an area about 4 inches wide or so, and then another one, and another one, and another one, and there was about 5 or 6 columns of terminal strips. These terminal strips like 10 lugs tall, one right after the other. And all the wires coming into them had conduits coming in from every direction, coming to it with wires, and they had to be hooked up a certain way. And the way it was originally, it was a real tight little roll, and it always started, the label always started one label length back from the end of the lug where it was crimped on, and it was always, the lug was at your left, the label was to your right, and it read across, which was fine and dandy if it was plugged into the right side. If it was plugged on the left side, it was upside down. So you had to stand on your head to read the labels, if you was looking for a wire, which is pain in the butt. And it's all time breaking the lugs because of a lot of vibration in the locomotive, see. And so they ask us, if you can come up with something that we're having a lot of MFs, that's malfunctions, on the line of road. In other words, out on the main line of the tracks. So I prayed about it, and God put a little picture up in my head, and I made this thing up, put it on I found out where the company bought their terminal boards and their wire and their terminals and all of that stuff. And I went there and bought about $200 worth of stuff, enough to do what I needed to do. Stuff was expensive, but I wanted to use the same identical stuff that the company used, where I could prove my point. And then I mounted it on a gallon paint can, and Dad had brought home an old jitterbug type paint shaker. Had 2 of them in there. It thing is sitting up here, one over here, and it'd shake paint very vigorously. And yeah, I worked there at the hardware store where Dad worked at, and I cleaned up a lot of paint where the lid come off of that stuff. Stuff just paint on the ceiling, So they finally got a better paint shaker, and Dad brought that old one home. Well, it's sitting there. I said, well, what the heck? So I said, it's going to shake a lot more than I can stand there and shake to prove my wiring. Now, God done give me the design, so I knew it was going to work, but I needed to prove it. Shook the dickens that thing. Couple of wires came off, and I took my luggers and just tightened them up a little bit and plugged them back in. They're good to go. So I made up my mind. I done turned it in 3 times at this point to the company, to the boss, and the boss didn't want to mess with it. He just kind of sweep it under the carpet, not say nothing. And I knew it was going to work because I prayed about it. God gave it to me. I knew it would work. I put my trust in God, what He says. I mean, He made everything. I'm sure He knows what He's talking about. So I implemented it on this rewire, and it was right outside the office at the railroad, the diesel shop where I worked. And you know how you can feel somebody watching you? You can't really explain it, but you can feel, and you turn around, somebody's standing there. Well, see, I'm doing this without approval. 3 times they've shot it down, just my individual foreman. I said, enough is enough. I know this is going to help the company. Well, I turn around, look back there, and this guy's standing. He said, I don't mind me. I've got to be somewhere. And he was in a suit, and here I am. I've got a T-shirt on, and sitting on a 5-gallon bucket with a bunch of rags under me for cushion, and I'm sitting here working away down in his cabinet, electrical cabinet. Pretty soon there was another guy come up, and another guy, and then the manager of the diesel shop came up with his assistant manager, and they're all standing back there, and I'm nervous as a cat shitting peach seeds. Excuse my French. And I'm working away, and I turned around. I said, "Am I in trouble?" No, we're just talking back here. Don't mind us. Pretty soon, a couple of more came up. So we're talking about a group of people. There's 3 guys standing over here, and 2 guys standing here, and the manager and the assistant manager and the senior general foremen are all right behind me, and I'm sitting there. Oh no, my job is gone. And pretty soon, my boss showed up. Well, I done turned it in to him one time, and he shot it down. He walked up. He said, "General, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm hooking this cabinet up." He said, "No," but he said, "How are you hooking it up?" I said, "This is what I turned in to you 2 months ago, and you shot it down." I said, "I got this from God. I know this is going to work." And that meeting that you all had said anything that we could come up to better our system, to please do it. I said, "I've turned this into you and 2 other foremen, and you all have shut it down. I've made up my mind. If y'all don't like this, I'll buy the material. I'll come in on my own time, pull this out, pull it back in with my material, and hook it up. Won't charge y'all nothing, and let it go out there and fail like it has been done. I'm sure that this is going to work." And the boss started to say something, and the manager said his name and said, "Shut up." He said, "Yes, sir." So I'm sitting here looking at this group of people, and oh, the manager said, "Well, what do you guys say?" "We like it." Turned around to these other 3 guys over here and said, "What do you all say?" He said, "We like it." I said, "Boss, who are these people?" Said, "Well, These are the the two head representatives for the electromotive division of General Motors. And these two guys here are the senior representatives for General Electric locomotive division. I said, do tell. I said, does that mean I'm not in trouble? I said, no, Mr. Lee. Said, you're not in trouble. Said, you go right on doing what you're doing. And he looked at the boss that I'd turned that in to, and he said, you go back out there. He said, I'll talk to you later. And that's all it went. That's all I've heard. From then on, nobody said diddly squat to me. Okay? The cheap GP49X locomotives came out with my wiring on it. Yeah. And a special new terminal board. It was a feed through terminal board. Instead of plugging it in and running a harness of wire around through the cabinet and going into another terminal board and then coming off that terminal board and going to the stuff in the cabinet, it eliminated that whole harness. You plug it in here, it goes right straight through and plug in on the other side. Saved a lot of wire, a lot of terminal points that didn't need to be there, a lot of stress and vibration problems and scuff problems, you know. And so between my wiring and the feed through terminal boards, the GP49X, which was the predecessor to the GP50s, of which we had a beaucoup of them, the 49X was experimental using my wiring. And they're still GE and EMD. Well, now EMD's sold out to GE, the way I understand it. Why, I don't know. I'd much rather work on a EMD engine than I had GE, because it makes more sense. The main difference, well, it's a little lighter weight, but the main difference is electrical. EMD believes that your current flow is from positive to negative. Comes out positive, goes through the stuff, comes back to negative. Well, General Electric believes that it comes out of the negative and flows to the positive. So it's exactly opposite. The EMD engines, the coil positive is your control wire, and the negative they all just go to one spot. It's exactly opposite on the EMD, the GE. The main control wire is negative, goes to the coil, and all the positive wires go to the same place. So they're totally backwards. The designs of the engine is totally opposite from one another. And you can look 40 miles away and see a train coming and tell whether it's EMD or a GE. This just a silhouette will tell you. Now some of the engines that they're putting out, now that they're both the same company's got both of them, they're starting to look like one another. I said, oh, and I'm talking too much, ain't I? I'm downloading. Anyway, there's a little bit of information for you. just a little heads up of what's coming. And it'll be a very in-depth technical video. When I put it out, it'll be quality when I put it out, because I'm buying the stuff up now to making a mock electrical cabinet, show you how to hook it up. Like I say, make up the harness on the end of the cable, or the tree up, and hook up the cabinet on the end of the harness of wire that you're going to pull in. Roll it up, put it on the pallet that way. And then the other way, pull the wire in, tree it up, and hook it up that way. When you do that, you lose wire. So if you're trying to save wire, do your small cabinet and stuff first, and then pull it in. That way you don't lose anything. All right, I'm going to get off of here. I done talked long enough. I love you guys. Like and subscribe. Hit the bell and make comments. This General, I'm out.